Many words have been written and said about the 1989 death of Peter Plumley-Walker at the Huka Falls near Taupo. But few of those words come from the teenage dominatrix at the center of it. Renee Chignell did not take the stand at any of her 3 trials for the murder of cricket umpire Plumley-Walker. She has spoken to media only rarely. But now, nearly 30 years later, her perspective on one of New Zealand's most sensational court cases has been given the documentary drama treatment in TVNZ1's Mistress, Mercy. Chignell, 18 at the time of Plumley-Walker's death, and her partner Neville Walker, 34, were convicted of murdering Plumley-Walker in 1989, with police alleging they had thrown him, beaten from a bondage session but still alive, into the Huka Falls. It took 2 years and 2 retrials to convince a jury that Plumley-Walker had actually died hours earlier in Auckland, while Chignell was out of the room during their bondage session. Chignell has been a free woman since 1991. For Manon Blackman, the 21-year-old actress tasked with portraying the young Chignell, understanding the teenage dominatrix's perspective was key to preparing the role. I think a huge part of the preparing for this role was to understand it from Renee's perspective, because as an actress I had to be able to justify the decisions she made, and that meant really understanding all the different pressures she was under at the time, and understanding what went into these decisions, Blackman says. Blackman was aided in understanding Chignell's decisions by watching filmed interviews with the woman herself. Those interviews form the backbone of Mistress, Mercy. Chignell had a troubled childhood, with feuding parents whose arguments sometimes turned violent. They divorced when she was 13. It wasn't a nice home life, you know, to see your mother hurt on a regular basis, Chignell says in the documentary. That really breaks my heart, you know. And for years I used to say to my father, I would never, ever be with a man like you. Ever. Chignell started working as a prostitute near Auckland's Karangahape Road when she was 15, after being floored when another prostitute told her how much money they made. Despite her mother's outspoken disapproval, Chignell worked the streets until a man tried to rape her. Then she worked at a brothel until the opportunity to learn from inexperienced dominatrix came along. In the documentary, Chignell admits she wasn't really cut out for the acts of bondage, domination and sadism being a dominatrix requires. Some clients I guess would ask for genitalia piercings, very heavy whipping, and just things that I'm just not wouldn't be comfortable doing, no matter what the sort. A price was being offered, she says. That's why I think I made such a bad mistress, because I was not tough enough. Chignell had vowed not to get involved with a man like her father, but that's exactly what happened with her co-accused Neville Walker. In the documentary, Chignell recounts a scene when Walker misinterpreted what was happening in a bondage session with a client at their house in Remuera, Auckland. He came round the side of the house, proceeded to smash the big main window. The glass fell in, which was absolutely terrifying, and the poor chap was more concerned about getting me out of there for my safety because he could hear Neville saying what he was going to do to me, that he was going to kill me and do this. I had heard this from him before, she says. Chignell says that when Plumley-Walker died during a bondage session, it was boyfriend Walker who insisted they dispose of the body instead of calling emergency services. Chignell's tumultuous life made playing her Blackman's greatest acting challenge yet. In addition to poring over the footage of Chignell's interviews, she visited a B. We talked about the scenes around portraying the B. Sage showing me how to use the cane, things like that. Blackman says, there's a lot of talk about sex work from people who actually have no idea. It was really important that we were doing it justice and not playing those stereotypes, but instead hearing from sex workers about the industry. The actress was nervous about performing the B. That was like, yep, this is not what I wear most days. It was an out-of-the-ordinary moment. I was struggling to breathe. But it's acting, isn't it? And when you're playing another character you're not you, so it's all out of the ordinary really, she says. Blackman balances her acting career. She started acting at 13 in Nothing Trivial and has since had roles in 800 Words, Terry Teo and Hillary, with studying law, so she found the legal wranglings around the case particularly interesting. After all her work on the series, Blackman, who has not met Chignell herself, knows more about the Plumley-Walker case than most. So what does she make of Chignell's involvement? I think she was a young girl put in a really horrific, tragic situation, Blackman says. Ultimately it was just a tragic incident, and a teen girl's life was hugely affected by this death. Certainly in some respects she was a victim of some awful circumstances. Mistress, Mercy. The Renee Chignell story screens tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TVNZ1 Stuff promoted stories recommended by